Go.
Atticus approaches the stand to question Mayella Ewell. Hashtag intense.
Don't you worry, Miss Mayella. I won't try to scare you for a while. Not yet. Hashtag all good, girlfriend.
Stop mocking me, hashtag.
Get back, get back!
I'm not mocking you. That's just my weight.
Atticus, hashtag stay fierce.
Anyway, moving on. So you said you're 19. Hashtag old.
Yes, I'm the eldest of all my siblings. Hashtag swag.
Do you love your father, Miss Mayella? Hashtag tell the truth.
Love him. Gotcha mean. Hashtag confused.
Is he good to you? Is he easy to get along with?
He's okay except when hashtag ...
When he's drinking. Hashtag.
No, he's never put a hand on me in my life. Hashtag defense.
We should probably move on to the case. So had you ever invited him inside the fence? Had you ever talked to him before? Hashtag back on topic.
No, I haven't. Hashtag hesitant.
Are you positive? Hashtag I think you're lying.
Most certainly. Hashtag she's confident.
Atticus went over to the window and thought to himself for a while. Hashtag puzzled.
Moving on. So you claim that Tom Robinson came up behind you, jumped on you, and raped you. Hashtag inappropriate.
Yes, that's what he did. Hashtag yes.
Do you remember him beating you about the face? Hashtag throwing punches.
Yeah. Yes. Hashtag stuttered.
So why didn't you run? Hashtag run like the wind bullseye.
I tried. Hashtag no cool.
Tried to? What kept you from it? Hashtag confused.
He slung me down. That's what he did. He slung me down, got on top of me. Hashtag uncomfortable.
Tom, would you stand up for a minute, please, so Miss Miller could look at you? Hashtag get up. Is this the man who raped you?
It most certainly is. Hashtag period.
Why didn't you scream when he hit you? Hashtag confused again?
I did. Hashtag
Why didn't your siblings hear you? Were they? Hashtag.
Somewhere over the rainbow.
Mayella said nothing. Hashtag silence.
Did you scream until you saw your father in the window? Or did you not think to scream until then?
Hashtag
why?
Mayella said nothing. Hashtag silence.
Did you scream at first at your father instead of at Tom Robinson? Hashtag which one?
Mayella said nothing. Hashtag silence.
Who beat you up? Tom Robinson or your father? Hashtag decisions.
Mayella said nothing. Hashtag silence.
What did your father see in the window? Hashtag tell me.
Mayella once again said nothing, and Atticus turned around looking furious. Hashtag Mr. Kaufman.
I got something to say. Hashtag time to own up.
Would you like to tell us what happened? Hashtag dad truth, please.
That man took advantage of me. And if you fine, fancy gentlemen don't want to do anything don't want to do nothing about it, then you are a bunch of yellow, stinky cowards. Hashtag I'm a drama queen.
Mayella stuck to her words and answered no more questions, and Tom Robinson was called to the stand. Hashtag moving on.
Are you acquainted with Mayella? Hashtag did you not?
Yes, sir. She used to invite me inside the fence to do all kinds of chores almost every day. Hashtag needy.
Did she ever ask you to chop up a chiffero? Hashtag chiffero?
Once, last spring. After I did it, she said, I reckon I owe you a nickel. And I said, no ma'am, there ain't no charge. Hashtag forget about the price tag.
Did you ever step foot onto the Ewell's property without permission? Hashtag rebel.
Never. I wouldn't do that. Hashtag good citizen.
What happened to you on the evening of November 21st of last year? Hashtag remember?
I was walking home like usual when Mayella called me over. She said she had a job for me, so I went inside the fence and I looked for something kindling to work on, and I couldn't find, and then Mayella said she had a job for me inside the house to fix the door. So I went up the steps and looked at the door, and nothing was wrong with it. I told Mayella there was nothing wrong with the door, and I asked where the children were. She said that she saved up money so they... could go out to ice cream. I said, that's awful nice of you and I best be going. Just as I was leaving, she told me to get a box down from the chifforobe. So I did as she asked, and while I was reaching for the box, she grabbed me around the legs. And I was so startled. I hopped off the chair. After I turned around, she jumped on me and sort of hugged me around the waist. Then she kissed me and told me to kiss her back. I said, let me out of here, Miss Mayella. And she wouldn't let me out. Then I saw Mr. Ewell, and he yelled at Mayella, calling her a gosh dang whore. And he started saying he's going to kill her. After that, I started to run, faster than I ever ran before. Hashtag phew. Oh, there's more. That was it. Intense.
Tom, did you harm Mayella Ewell in any way? Hashtag harm?
I did not, sir. Hashtag ain't about that life.
Did you rape Mayella Ewell? Hashtag please say no.
I did not, sir. Hashtag I ain't about that life either.
Why did you run? Hashtag getting in shape?
I was scared. Hashtag scared.
Why were you scared? Hashtag question.
If you were me, Mr. Finch, you'd be scared too. Hashtag
No more further questions for Tom. And Atticus returned to his seat. Hashtag the end.
Ah!